There are 10 mistakes you're making right now that are keeping you out of the top 1% of people in their 20s. So I'm going to show you how to fix them so you can stop feeling behind and start building the body, income, and life that you actually want. Because if you're doing more than 4 things on this list, then you are in serious trouble. And I know, because every single one of them was me. Starting off with number 1. Everywhere you look, there is modern day poison. Fast food, doom scrolling, and according to the CDC, over 35% of Americans eat fast food every single day. If that's not bad enough, roughly 1 in 3 American adults don't even get at least 7 hours of sleep per night. Sleep and food are 2 of the most crucial inputs humans have. And if you don't nail these, your daily energy and focus will be completely gone, as mine were, and nothing else will matter. By changing my diet to having as many 1 ingredient foods as possible and not eating as much processed junk food and sodas changed everything for me. And some things I did to increase my average sleep score from low 70s to high 80s is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, yes, including the weekends, turning all tech off 2 hours before bed, sleeping with my phone outside of my room, not eating 2 hours before bed, and also getting sunlight first thing in the morning for my circadian rhythm. But you could sleep 8 hours and eat perfectly clean and still feel like complete garbage every day, because there's one thing that matters more for your energy than both of these things combined. And it's the only thing on this list that gets more expensive every year that you wait. Less than 25% of American adults hit their recommended amount of physical activity every single day. And here's the part that nobody understands. Getting in shape doesn't cost money, it costs time. And time is the only thing that gets more and more expensive every year that you're alive. Right now, the second you are watching this, you have the fewest responsibilities you will ever have. Probably no kids, probably no mortgage, probably not a ton of people depending on you, and you're not spending enough of this time on the one thing that makes everything else easier. When I was 18 years old, I was 169 pounds. I was literally like skin and bones. And now I have the body that I've always wanted ever since I was a kid. And it's allowed me to be so much more confident in myself, attract my dream girlfriend. Like, she literally came up to me. It's never happened before. But more importantly, look in the mirror and not feel like complete shit. Now, that whole argument only works if you believe that you're running out of time. And at 20, nobody really does, which is mistake number 3. You might think that you have time, but you don't. It's common to think you have years to figure things out. So you either don't start or you do without much urgency. Both of these things come from the same place, and it's that nobody gives you a realistic timeline. Nobody will click on the video that's called How to Build a Successful Business in 4 years. So frankly, you have been trained by every single content that you have ever watched that it's going to be fast. I knew I wanted to build something when I was literally 16 years old, and I didn't have anything real until I was 19. That's not because I lacked information by any means. In fact, I watched hundreds of hours of it. It's because I believed I had time. So what changed for me is I started to ask myself if what I was doing right now, I would still be doing it in 3 years' time. And if the answer was no to that question, I just removed that thing from my life. Now let me just paint this picture, because I lived this for 2 years. 7 a.m., middle of winter in a small town in Michigan. Feet of snow outside. Car completely frozen over, having to rush my way to school if I didn't want to be late. I was doom scrolling probably until 2 a.m. and running off of 4 hours of sleep. So I'd sleep in and miss a couple of hours of school, then call myself in. I actually started a club and called it an independent study, and I literally skipped first hour of the day because I was attending that club. Then I would sit all day in class researching about businesses that I wanted to start so I could get the hell out of school. 2 years of that, and I genuinely could not figure out why my life wasn't changing. Because knowing you're running out of time does nothing on its own. What actually matters is that right now you are sitting in the cheapest window of your entire life. So it's the best time in your life to be bad at something in order to get good and acquire skills. And that brings me to mistake number 4, which is not starting a business yet. If you're waiting for more time, more money, or more clarity, I'm sorry, but it's probably not gonna come. And the thing you're actually waiting for, which is just certainty, doesn't exist in anything that's worth doing. Right now, failing almost costs nothing. You can literally restart as many times as you want. Like I said, no kids, lower expenses, and nobody's livelihood is attached to your decisions, but every year that changes. And the cost of failing goes up. The top 1% start when it's cheap to fail. I mean, I started 3 or 4 things and none of them worked. Like drop shipping, product videos, like all these hustles I would see online, and none of them made any money. But those failures course corrected me fast into the thing that I would actually be good at and start making money from. Speaking of failures, there is one thing that decides whether or not this works. School teaches us from a young age that it's bad to fail. And this is probably one of the most important mistakes on the list: running from failure. From the time you're 5 years old, you're taught that failing is bad. Red pen, bad grade, held back a year. A decade of being told that the correct move is to avoid being wrong. And then you graduate into a world where the only way to build anything real is to constantly be wrong, and publicly at that. If I were to tell you right now that you are 100 failures away from getting the life you actually want, you would love to fail. And I almost did nothing with my life because I was afraid of failing. But eventually I realized the consequences of not even trying, but failure in business is the key. The faster faster you can fail, the faster you can learn, and the more progress you'll be able to make. Now that's 5 out of 10. If you are 4 of those, then boy oh boy, you might be in the danger zone because it gets harder from here. Because the first 5 were about what you do. The next 5 are about what's around you. Starting with the one that's quietly influencing you without you even noticing. Not watching what you consume. If I were to ask you right now to go into your settings on your phone and check your screen time, would it be more than 4 hours? Most of that time is content and media chosen specifically by an algorithm to optimize for your attention and not your goals. And for whatever reason, everyone thinks they're immune to it. But your beliefs about what's normal, what's achievable, what's worth wanting, none of that is consciously decided. It gets absorbed from whatever you're around most, and for most people, that's their feed. Here's my proof. I went to college disgusted by the thought of going out. I thought it was a complete waste of time. I thought everyone doing it were complete degenerates, and I said so. But by the end of that year, I was going out twice a week. Nobody argued me into anything or nobody convinced me. I just absorbed it from the people and the environment around me. I feel like I have a pretty strong willpower. I mean, I don't even know how that happened, but what I do now is I'm just very careful and cautious of what I consume, whether that's media, content, or even the people in my life. I'm very careful about what it is, that it doesn't lead me down from a path that's not incongruent to my goals. But you could delete every app on your phone. You could even stop watching TV today and it wouldn't fix this, because the strongest influence in your entire life isn't on a screen. It's sitting across from you every weekend, and it's quietly been deciding what your ceiling is and what you believe to be possible. There's a well-known idea that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. It gets repeated constantly, and yet nobody actually acts on it, because acting on it is brutal. Now here's the part that nobody says out loud. Your friends probably want you to do great, right? They're probably good people, but not better than them, because oftentimes your progress becomes a mirror of what they're not doing. So when you start changing, you'll feel the pullback. Usually it comes as a little bit of concern or some jokes. Like I remember this vividly, and I had to cut off almost all my friends that I grew up with, and I'll be completely honest, it cost me for sure. I have fewer close friends right now than I can count on one hand. But it's important to spend more time with people whose default is your goal. Not people you were inspired by on the internet, but people whose ordinary Tuesday is exactly what you're aiming at. And I know it's lonely in the middle stage where you left one group and you haven't yet found your new one, but do it anyways because that stage went. And I know exactly what you're thinking, because I thought it too. I'll just find better people, right? Here's the problem. You can't find better people if there's no one around you to pick from. Which brings me to mistake number 8, and that's the one that nobody wants to hear. It's still living where you grew up. Most people live within a short drive of their hometown their entire lives. And for most of them, it works out completely fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But to be honest, if you're watching this video, you probably don't want fine and normal. Now, your hometown never really feels like a trap. Like, that's exactly why it is. It's great, the people, nobody's stopping you, everyone's nice, nothing's really wrong, but it just quietly decides what normal is to you. You might disagree with this, but without even noticing, you'll copy the ambition level of everyone around you, and this is kind of where your ceiling gets set for what you believe to be is possible. I left my small hometown in the US when I was 19. I went to Spain completely alone. I had no backup plan, and 6 months of living that life changed me more than 4 years of my life before that. It is not because Spain is magic. Well, it's kind of magic, but it's because nobody knew who I was. Nothing was decided for me. There was no defaults. There was no expectations. I had the freedom and flexibility to change into the person that I wanted to become, the person that I thought would have a better chance at achieving my goals. Trust me, you don't have to move across the world, but you do have to get somewhere where your default kind of breaks. Hopefully we're still under 4 here, because really nobody ever moves, nobody ever changes their friends, almost nobody ever starts like posting anything or starts anything for that matter, and it's all the same reason. Just one thing underneath all of this. And that's mistake number 9, and it's held me back more than anything on this list. Caring about what people from your old life think. It sounds basic, and it's probably the most basic thing on this list, but it's also the reason why nobody ever does anything. Every single decision on this list, moving, changing friends, training, starting something, it all has the same tax attached. And it's that people that knew the old you will have something to say about it. This right here stopped me from posting for literally a whole year, and not because I knew I didn't know what to make, but it's because the second I did, someone would find it in my school and make fun of me. And funny enough, when I started posting, somebody played one of my YouTube videos in class, literally a class that I was sitting in, for everyone to watch, and everyone was laughing at me. I mean, he was one of my best friends too. And so for me, it was too late, so I said fuck it, and I just started posting every single day. Posting online, which is by the way something I never thought I would do a couple years ago, allowed me to document my progress from going from complete scratch to where I am now, have way more impact, and even build 2 businesses to multiple 6 figures. And here's the thing I didn't expect, but Honestly, I kinda did. Most of the people I was scared of are in the exact same position that they were a couple years ago when this happened. Now, this is by far the most important mistake of the entire list, and it's that you think things are set in stone. Have you ever said to yourself or someone around you that you're not the type of person to do this, or you're not the type of guy who does that? Oftentimes, we tell ourselves these things and quietly solidify who we are as people, which makes it really hard to change when you have to. Every single thing on this list was me at some point. I was the guy who ate junk food 24/7. I was the guy doom scrolling every single night, never going to the gym, skin and bones. But what's important here is that none of that was actually who I was. It was just what I had been doing. And the way you change isn't by deciding that you are all of a sudden some different person, because honestly, you can't just decide that. You change it by doing one thing that the person you want to become would do, and then you do it again the next day. Your identity isn't some decision that you make, it's an accumulation of evidence. It's slow and it's hella uncomfortable, and most of it happens on days that you don't feel like it, but eventually, you can't call yourself the guy who doesn't go to the gym if you've been going to the gym for the last 6 months. You don't find better people, better opportunities, or a better life randomly. You become someone who those things find. That's 10. If you're making more than 4 of those mistakes, that's not a character problem by any means, it's just a starting point. Every single one of them was me, but the only thing that changed was what I did that day and the next. Thanks for watching.